I played Celeste some months ago and honestly it exceeded my expectations. You could now be asking with the critical reception that it got how in the world it could do that. Well, that's because I honestly didn't know exactly what the game was about aside from a girl climbing a mountain, and I didn't want to have too much expectations and be disappointed. I've beaten the story mode, all the B-sides, the extra chapter and its B-side, and half of the DLC because there was a point where I was already tired and every room used to take me like 30 tries. And I never even attempted the seasides or golden strawberries because I was already satisfied. With all of this, I think it's pretty clear that I love this game. The gameplay was very fun, and the story was really compelling. Is it a masterpiece? Maybe I will need to analyze it a lot more to come to a conclusion, but for now I can say it's a great indie game with a lot to prize about. However, one of its most prized features, the assist mode, a mode which basically allows you to cheat, increasing the number of dashes, making you invincible, allow to skip chapters, slow time, etc. It has been praised by a lot of people. For example, Mark Brown uploaded a video talking about this cheat mode and others. His video is very well made and installed very fluidly, but in terms of argument, his video is really shallow. And before you tell me I'm being an hypocrite, remember that I've been in this platform for some months, not years. I've been recently watching some Super Bunny Hub videos and honestly they are much better made, they actually have arguments. And also some Matthew Matosi's Mega Micro videos which I really recommend. Whatever, one of his weakest points are that players should have the choice to play however they want. My problem with this is that there are so many goddamn games, there is even a game about clicking a cookie. Why should games adjust to the player? Why not in the other way around? Anyway, my point of today is that I don't think this mode is a good inclusion, and I'm going to explain why. Video games difficulty is a complicated matter. Some believe that all games should be accessible for everyone, and that some games are too difficult for some people. Others believe that games should offer a challenge and that there shouldn't be shortcuts to the reward. And then pretty much everyone else stays in the middle for one side or another, because few are so stupid to be so extremist. Many games will have multiple difficulties to try to pander everyone, but many times those difficulties only change numbers or small stuff that can make the gameplay itself, eliminating any reward in it in the easier difficulties, or make unfair and unsatisfying in the harder ones. Even if you balance everything correctly or are clever on how to implement them, you still have problems with that because the player probably doesn't know what should they choose. When I approached AM2R for the first time, I decided to go for hard since the Metroid games I had played were not very difficult. Little did I know, I got my ass handed to me with a mode that clearly wasn't made for new players, but the game didn't explain well. Maybe you could keep the hard mode locked until after finishing the game, but that brings another problem, because maybe someone already played the game in another device that they no longer have, and say, hey, I already know how to play this, I'm going in hard mode. And they did discover that they need to play the game again before that. However, having easy modes is not a strictly bad idea. I recently played a demo of a rhythm game, not very well known, called Friday Night Funky. It's basically a rhythm game, kind of like Guitar Hero or other ones, about a dude who is dating a girl and her demon dad doesn't like him. So he will have a rap battle with him, except that he loses so he sends an assassin, and then his demon wife. And then again, anyway, I'm gonna stop pretending that you didn't know this game already. I had been ignoring it until week 7 update, but when that came out it was literally impossible to ignore, so I checked it out and I loved it. The characters had a lot of charm and the songs were amazing, so I decided to play it, but there was a problem. I'm terrible at rhythm games. The reaction time of my fingers are the one of a dog. I couldn't even beat the third song at week 1, but hey, what's that? Oh yeah, it's an easy mode. Thanks to this I was able to beat the game, then in normal, and then in hard, well except the last week. Yeah, pretty fun game. I can't wait to play the full game. The difficulty options literally have no downside here. The game was supposed to be a fun experience, and it is. The difficulty modes do not change anything. Other games decide to not have difficulty systems at all and instead implement it inside the game. I have a few examples which are Hollow Knight and Super Mario Odyssey, but I don't wanna spoil Hollow Knight and no one plays Mario for the story, so I'm gonna go with that one. In Super Mario Odyssey, the main adventure, aka the path you follow to get to the ending, is very easy. It has challenges here and there, but overall it's not too hard. However, when you get completionist and go for all the moons, the true challenge of the game starts. Some of moons can be very hard to get, and the darker side of the moon is very hard. And there are some moons that I don't even need to talk about. This method is really good because it feels more natural than putting a select menu, but it isn't perfect because you still have to beat the entire game again before accessing the harder challenges. However, games like Hollow Knight solve this with their non-linearity, giving you the option of tackling harder challenges sooner or later depending on your skill. Having difficulty options also means that you have to explain which one you should play. For example, AM2R is technically supposed to be played on normal, but Friday Night Funkin', despite being called hard difficulty, it is actually how it's meant to be played. Here all the songs are perfectly charted. So technically here hard mode is normal, normal is easy, and easy is more easy. What I want to show here is that there isn't really a perfect way, there isn't a right answer. If you're designing a game, stick with your vision and don't let others tell you what you're supposed to do. But do it right because you still can screw it up in different ways. So what is my problem with Celeste then? To explain, I will have to talk about the game and most importantly its plot. So if you haven't played it, then this is your last chance to go since this will spoil pretty much everything. The gameplay of Celeste is basically a 2D platformer like Super Meat Boy or The Endless Night. Basically you have to go screen to screen with a checkpoint between them. I know it's also ridiculously hard but forgiving thanks to the checkpoints. For example, Demon Souls is no near as hard as Celeste, but dying has consequences and you have to go through the level again, so it is less hard but more punishing. However, for me the most important part for this video is the story. We play as Madeline. Madeline is going through a depression and in order to escape all of that, she decides to go to the psychologist. Just kidding, she decides to climb a dangerous mountain because why not? While she starts, she discovers that the mountain is not a normal place and starts bringing to life a part of Madeline that she hates. She also meets a guy named Theo who becomes her best friend, a ghost obsessed with his hotel, and an old lady who knows the mountain very well. When I started playing Celeste, I thought it was going to be an allegory to hard games, how we struggle so much to gain nothing physical out of it, but emotional. I guessed this for this dialogue of Madeline, like... Later in the game, I discovered that I was half right, since it wasn't necessarily just about hard games, but life goals in general. Madeline wants to climb the mountain because she needs to get out of her repetitive life, to stop thinking about things that already happened long time ago, and it doesn't matter if climbing the mountain is really hard and will practically give her nothing in exchange, but she's going to do it anyway because it will make her feel better. Oh wait, doesn't that remind you of someone? One line that I always thought it was very clever was this line the old lady says before fighting Madeline and the final chapter. However, there is a difference between the player and Madeline. Madeline has to climb the mountain by herself and face the challenges. It is the only way for her. But that's not the case for the player. With the assist mode existing, the player is not beating the game by the only means possible. If anything, the player is doing the most complicated way when they could easily turn on the assist mode. Because why struggle so much against this difficult room if you can just turn the assist mode on and just pass it? In the final chapter, Madeline and Madeline talk about how difficult climbing this place is, and that's true. Unless you're playing with the assist mode, in that case, the player is a little disconnected from Madeline. Another problem I have with the assist mode is how it is implemented. First, you have a way to skip chapters, literally skipping parts of the story. I don't even understand why this is here. The second is changing the game speed. I have no problem with this one. Infinite stamina, I have no problem with this either, since stamina can only become a problem in some of the most difficult parts of the game. Air dashes, this allows you to have 2 dashes, which is fine, but it also allows you to have infinite dashes, which completely trivializes some sections. Dash assists which are also fine, and invincibility. Now this one is terrible. It completely removes any kind of struggle. Seriously, what is the interesting part about this? You get more understanding of the game by watching it on YouTube. Most of these are fine, but there are some that are just too much. I repeat, what is interesting about being invincible and having infinite jumps? It doesn't matter if someone with incapacities can't play this game without them, because it's just not the same. Those people should be playing other games more suitable for them. Not a game that literally has themes in story about difficulty. It's a game about overcoming obstacles that handles you with something that completely neglects that. Many of you will probably tell me that if I don't want to use it, then I shouldn't use it, but that is a lame excuse. When I was playing Super Mario Odyssey in the darker side of the moon, I got so frustrated that I decided to search for shortcuts, and I used this one to skip the hardest section because I was so frustrated and I wanted to beat it. In comparison, Hollow Knight Hardest Challenge, which I won't spoil, didn't have any kind of shortcut, so I had to master the game myself, and when I finally defeated, I literally screamed because I was so excited. Celeste supposedly wants the same experience, but hands you with tons of shortcuts to it. Many people, like younger me, will probably use them instead of overcoming them. The worst part is that the game has already something to make it easier. The strawberries are introduced as 100% optional challenges. Maybe the storyline could have been a bit easier and put more optional challenges. Or they could have made an actual easy mode that changes the level design. Or the assist mode could only show you how to complete a section, because believe me, sometimes figuring out what to do can be as hard as doing it. But how it is in reality seems more like an excuse to avoid criticism of the difficulty. I may have been a bit harsh on Celeste right here, so let me reiterate. Celeste is a fantastic game aside from some flaws, and I absolutely recommend it even if you feel like it might be too difficult, but with practice I assure that you will get through it. Also, I'm the only one that notices this.